Originally descendants of Ronvald the Mighty, chief of the Orkneys and Earl of Moor and Romsdal of Norway, the Sinclairs crossed to England from France in 1066. William Sinclair fought alongside his cousin William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings. Having defeated the English, he then settled in Scotland. William became a favourite of the Scottish King Malcolm, who granted the Sinclairs the barony of Roslin. William's son Henry was later knighted for defending Scotland against the English, and thus were created the Knights Sinclair of Roslin. The Sinclair family lived here at Roslin Castle, just outside Edinburgh. In 1420, a later William, described as the most brilliant of all the Sinclairs, succeeded as the head of the family, and it was his vision to build a place for holy worship, study, and family remembrance. Its location here, at the picturesque Glen of Roslin. Work began in 1446. 500 years later, William could never have imagined that Roslin Chapel would draw thousands of visitors from all around the world. The chapel's construction was set to take many years, but tragically Sir William died in 1484, 40 years into construction and long before it was complete. His son Oliver roofed the chapel, and although his father's ambitions for a larger cathedral were never realised, the chapel that was built was still extraordinary. Built from soft Scottish sandstone, Roslin Chapel is an architectural and spiritual marvel. Its barrel-vaulted roof, ornate pillars and intricate stone carvings reveal a chapel bursting with diverse and dramatic influences. The Sinclairs were devout Roman Catholics, and the extensive religious carvings not only portray their passion for biblical stories, but also reveal the influence of pagan and Celtic faiths. Many carvings celebrate the Scandinavian origins of the Sinclairs and the family's connections, while the importance of man's relationship with nature is everywhere to see. Despite its splendour, the chapel did not always receive the care and attention it deserved. Time and the turbulent history have taken their toll. The chapel lapsed into a critical condition and was at risk of being lost for future generations. But pledging to preserve Sir William's legacy, the Roslin family established the Roslin Chapel Trust in 1995, and with time of the essence, the biggest conservation programme in the chapel's history got underway.
The aim of the conservation project is to ensure that the chapel is preserved. It's been here since 1484, and it's been through trials and tribulations, and the fabric is not particularly good at the moment. And our aim is to make sure that it lasts for another 600 years, and also remains as a working Christian church. The canopy was put on over 10 years ago to allow the building to dry out. The roof had been leaking since before Victorian times, and the inside of the chapel was just ringing with damp. So the canopy has served its purpose. We're now going to be able to restore the roof, make it wind and watertight, and then the canopy will be removed. It's going to be fascinating for visitors to come to the chapel during this conservation period, because they can be able to see old skills at work, stonemasons, stone conservators, the stained glass windows being refurbished. So it's going to be a fascinating time.
The key elements we're involved in here as conservation architects leading the team include the heating of the chapel. The chapel has not been properly made for many years, so installing a new heating system, something that's sympathetic to the interior, working with stained glass. We're involved in three-dimensional laser scanning of both the interior and exterior of the chapel, and quite a number of elements that are all ultimately focused on the conservation of what we have, including the Victorian organ. Three-dimensional laser scanning allows us to record every element of the chapel and then translate that, obviously using software and so on, computers, into architectural drawings, which are the basis for all that we do, and are also the basis for much of what the conservators will do as well. I think that the thing that excites me most about being involved here, and I've been involved over the last 4 years in planning, is simply the opportunity to work on what is one of Europe's, I would say Europe's most important conservation projects in this decade. Roslin Chapel has been here for more than 500 years and has survived, and is remarkable in terms of its carved stonework particularly. And just to be able to work at that, I think, is just wonderful.
But this is not the first time work has been undertaken in the chapel. Throughout its history, the condition of the chapel's structure and decorative fabric has continually evolved. chapel was a place of worship for the family for almost 100 years. However, in 1592, the Protestant Reformation swept Scotland, forcing the Sinclairs to demolish the altars and cease worship in the chapel. And for almost 300 years, the chapel fell into misuse and neglect. During the English Civil War, Cromwell's army ransacked Roslin Castle and stabled their horses here in the chapel. In 1688, Protestants from the nearby village of Roslin smashed their way into the chapel and destroyed everything they viewed as symbolising the Catholic faith. In the following century, the abandoned and ruined chapel in its picturesque setting began to attract artists, early photographers, writers and poets. Robert Burns, Sir Walter Scott and the painter Turner all came here and took inspiration from the romance of Roslin. However, the writer Dorothy Wordsworth, visiting in 1803, feared for his future.
Went to view the inside of the Chapel of Roslin, which is kept locked up. The architecture within is exquisitely beautiful, but as nothing is done to keep it together, it must, in the end, fall.
But Dorothy Wordsworth's prediction was not to come true. For a generation later, the 3rd Earl of Roslin took action to change the chapel's fate. He commissioned architects to begin the first conservation work, and by 1862, the chapel was once again a working church. His son, the 4th Earl, continued the tradition by adding the Victorian stained glass windows, the organ loft, and the baptistry you can see today. Throughout its history, the chapel has faced many enemies, perhaps the most powerful of which is water. A roof that has leaked for centuries and chronic condensation created the perfect environment for algae to flourish. 10 years ago, the chapel's interior was green, but problems with the stonework run deeper. Nick, please tell me about the situation with the stonework.
Historians have described the chapel as being a symphony in stone, but actually from our point of view, it's a symphony in stone decay. So just by walking around the chapel and through the chapel, we can identify many different forms of stone decay, areas of damage in terms of ordinary Portland cement in the construction joints, biological growth in many forms affecting the surface, problems associated with cracks and a breakdown of the stone surface. We also have problems relating to soils. In times of industrialization, for example, our air wasn't clean, and that is demonstrated on the chapel. We can see areas of environmental pollution products gluing, attaching themselves to the surface, effectively obscuring the original carved details. In addition to that, we have the works conducted by our predecessors that have sometimes, or have always been done in good faith, but have sometimes been done using inappropriate materials. So we have, for example, the damaging effects of iron rods inserted into the stone meant to hold the stones together or hold the windows in, for example. In all, there are thousands of individual challenges and individual solutions that we must find in order to carefully and respectfully treat them. I mean, this isn't an ordinary church. This is more of a jewel box, and that's the reason why we're taking the utmost care and attention to conserve every single individual centimetre of it.
There is more to conserve at Roslin Chapel than merely craftsmanship. Such dedicated work must require powerful inspiration, and there are many mysterious and controversial explanations behind much of what you will see here. For centuries, experts and theorists have pored over the chapel's carvings, finding as many questions as answers. Could Henry, first Prince of Orkney, have discovered America 100 years before Columbus? Carvings of North American corn may suggest so. Was the Sinclair family connected to the mysterious Knights Templar? Some say the pendant keystone holds the answer. And what of the Masonic references throughout the chapel? Further evidence of the family's intriguing past? We know that the chapel served as a mausoleum for the Sinclair family. The founder, Sir William, is believed to be buried beneath the chapel floor, along with other family members. But who, or what else, if anything, lies deep within these vaults? The Dead Sea Scrolls? The true Stone of Destiny? The Holy Grail? All great tales, though unlikely to be true. But the chapel's extraordinary sense of history and mystery continues to seduce right up to the present day. The current conservation programme represents another compelling chapter in the chapel's 500-year history. And the success of this programme is due to the continued dedication of the Sinclair family, the Roslin Chapel Trust, and the passion and expertise of the craftspeople involved. Time doesn't stand still, and although the current conservation programme will dramatically restore and improve the chapel's condition, future generations will have to assume the responsibility and challenge of maintaining the stunning legacy of Sir William Sinclair.
I'm Lady Roslin, and my husband, the 7th Earl of Roslin, is a direct descendant of Sir William Sinclair, who built the chapel, as you've heard, in 1446. On your tour today, you will see some of the wonderful stories associated with the chapel and witness the beautiful architecture. The Sinclair family has been closely associated with the chapel ever since its foundation. By visiting today, you are helping us to secure the building for future generations. Thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy your visit